Welcome back to This Is Live, the Sunday talk show, here on the RS News channel. With me in the studio are Professor Bola Akinterewa and Professor David Awurawo, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies at the University of Lagos. Well, gentlemen, we've taken about 4 topics already, from the final obsequies for the Queen, our coffin moving from the Balmoral Castle through Dundee to Scotland, and then en route London. And then, of course, we also talked about other issues. The schools reopening tomorrow, 9/11. Today is 21st anniversary of 9/11. And also the arrest of Tukur Mamu, the famous negotiator with the terrorists, who helped to free up to about 20 terrorists, but who has now been arrested by the Department of State Security, with the assistance of Interpol, intercepting him and his family members in Egypt as they traveled in the direction of Saudi Arabia. Well, these are the major issues, 4 of them, for now, on the table. Let me start with you, Professor David Awurawo.
Well, I'll also begin with the Queen's passing, Queen Elizabeth II. So much has been said about her since she died on Thursday. The overwhelming consensus is that she was a good woman. She understood what she needed to do for her country and for the global community, including the 14 other countries where she was head of state. She had a very calm disposition, and those who have worked close with her throughout her life also said she also had a kind heart. So the world, people have said that an era has ended and another is beginning, especially for the United Kingdom, are quite right, in their assessment and conclusion about Queen Elizabeth. But I would also want to veer a little into the controversy. There are people who have a different opinion, who think that the Queen was head of a country that had colonies, where so much brutality took place, and that they can't quite remember her lifting her voice, in defense of the oppressed and traumatized in those places. My response to that is that the Queen is human. Some people in Kenya said they remember Mau Mau. Those in Tanzania, Tanganyika, they say, they remember Maji Maji in the 50s, prior to independence, and that the Queen didn't stand up, in defense of those people who were, brutalized. But like I said, the Queen is human, and she even admitted she made mistakes in some things, especially things having to do with the domestic, the crisis that she had with her children, King Charles, Camilla, Lady Diana, and the rest of them. So the Queen is human, but overall, when we take everything together, we can conclude that the Queen was a good woman. She did well for our country. She did well for the global community, and that she will be sorely missed. One other thing I want to say about the Queen and England is the order that Masdokeshi talked about. There was an information that was leaked last year, about arrangements for the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. And we were saying, the woman is still alive. How come people are making arrangements for somebody who has not even died? Which was why just a few days ago they said they were only adding a few things to the arrangement they had made. That speaks to order, that speaks to organization. And these are things that countries like ours need to learn from. Things don't have to be haphazard. Things need to be systematic, organized. When things are like that, you tend to achieve more, and you tend to benefit people more, by your actions and activities. Then 9/11, yes, 9/11 was a very tragic event that took place 21 years ago in 2001. The United States has, emerged from it. One thing that the two ambassadors didn't talk about, which I would like to highlight, has to do with America's robust intelligence that has prevented a similar attack, since then. The terrorists are still there, and they have tried to attack the U.S. several times, as far as we know, since then. But none of them has been successful. One reason why that has been so is because the war has been taken to them where they are. And that is how to fight terrorism. You take the war, you don't allow them to come to you. You don't have to be on the defensive, you have to be on the offensive. Take the war to where they are and pursue them to the gates of hell. That is what has helped the United States, which was why when Islamic State emerged, the U.S. didn't allow them to gather themselves together and then threaten the West. They simply went to meet them where they are and snuff them out. And these are also lessons that Nigeria needs to learn on how we tackle terrorism. We can see that just like the military analyst talked about, that the past couple of weeks, 2 weeks thereabouts, when the president said, no holds barred on how you go and deal with them. A whole lot of success has been recorded, since then, since that attack in Buhari a couple of weeks ago. So these are the things we learned from, the 9/11 attack. The need to, put things together to overcome such challenges. The need to take, when you are fighting terrorism, take the war to them where they are. Don't allow them to, don't become defensive, be offensive, be strong. And of course, let your intelligence work robustly to be able to deal with, give you information that will lead to your successfully tackling them. Then safe school. Yes, our schools have, experienced tremendous challenges in terms of security. We have had children kidnapped, primary school, secondary school, tertiary institutions, kidnapped, taken to the bush, many died, many killed. The minister spoke well by saying, well, we are concerned, but like the analyst said, concern, yes, but those measures that are required to be taken to ensure that the schools are safe, obviously, they have not been taken. Like he said, they are best aspirations. We need to move beyond aspiration because aspiration means that many of the schools are still vulnerable. And we also know that this has a link to the high level of, the out-of-school children that we have. The figures are, the last figure we have now is showing something in the name, almost double what we had about 7, 8, years ago. Even though the Minister of Education said it reduced from 9 million to 7 million. But the figure from UNICEF and the rest shows 20 million. So, which is why there's the need to, pay close attention and ensure that what we have as policy in terms of, the safety of schools is translated into action so that the schools can indeed be safe in reality, not just a matter of wishful thinking or aspiration. Then finally, Mamu, well, what more can we say? The analyst said everything that needs to be said. Yeah, the US like 5 caps. And then, as a negotiator, you can't be a benefactor. You can't, be a sharer of whatever comes out of it. What I would just say to that is that the security agencies should be very transparent in the way they handle it. It's very sensitive because the man is a cleric. And we know how religious sentiments can be whipped up in things like this. They should be very careful in the way they handle the matter. They should be very transparent. They should record everything they do so that nobody will say, oh, they planted something there. And they're accusing him of what they planted. Let them be very clear. Let them be very transparent. Let them be very organized. Let them record everything and let him have his day in court. Whatever evidence they have, they should go. They should also stop, let me add that, media trial. They should go to court and present the evidence and let, the judicial system take care of the rest.
Well, Prof, I'm sure you agree with me that Professor Awurawo cannot be more correct. Then one of our viewers sent me a text and said, oh, it's good to see Professor Akinjeniwa back in the studio, back from doing Omungo in the United States. I'm sure that was a great experience.
No,
doing Omungo, attending to the grandchildren.
Yes. You see, Professor Awurawo is correct, but I will not say he's more correct. He wouldn't have been more correct. Why? He made very valid points that I agree with and that tally with the position of Ambassador Joe Keshi and Dr. Kabir. Let's start with Professor Shinade's submission, just one area.
Ambassador Shinade.
Ambassador Shinade, yes. He made the good point that relationship between Nigeria and the UK has generally been warm. It has been very warm, and that that particular pattern is most likely to continue. I will take that one as a hypothetical submission. The environmental conditionings of the past that enabled warm relationship, there is nothing to suggest that that particular environmental conditionings will exist in the future. I have to raise this point because when Professor Awurawo talked about orderliness, discipline, corroborating what Ambassador Joe Keshi said, it is simply because the United Kingdom lives in the future. They anticipate strategic calculations, but our foreign policy disposition is to be reacting. We are always reacting. So we know quite well that one day, one night, one afternoon, Queen Elizabeth II will die. But if you try to say Muhammadu Buhari may die next year, and you are trying to plan, the DSS will come and arrest you in your house. They are there. Nobody is interested in objective analysis as far as this country is concerned. If you are telling the people you are reading, the next is to say, oh, to which organization do you belong? Give us your spiritual foundation. Why would you think that he's going to die? But we know well that one day he will die. So the moment you begin to plan, you anticipate worst scenarios. Please, when such incident happens, you will not be caught unawares. That's the point there. You see, my position on the Queen and Charles, the third. I don't like this idea of saying a person is good, a person is bad. That's not the issue. I want us to look at the United Kingdom in the post-Brexit area, the attitudinal disposition of the United Kingdom towards Africa, and Nigeria in particular. I want us to look at, you see, I like diplomats. Joe Keshi is my brother, is my friend. He's a good diplomatist, he will give you good analysis. But you see, ambassadors are called ambassadors. Diplomats are diplomatic by painting whiter. Make it good. Ambassador Shinade will never tell you that we have all these challenges there. We know them. But if you really want to address the future, please let us deal with the issues. For instance, I know quite well that the goodness in Elizabeth II, she has a legacy of being the longest monarch in British history. Good, it is there. But you see, the same queen, and you did draw attention to it, Mau, all those things you are referring to, she didn't talk. And from that perspective, Professor Awurawo will tell us, well, the queen is human. Is it because she is human that she should keep quiet? Humanity is not about mistakes only. Humanity is that, look, The Queen consciously kept quiet about it. It's not that she didn't know. So please, the moment you can open your eyes, the cornea, the ray of light go into your retina in the eye, seeing quite well that there's bitterness, there's wickedness everywhere, and you keep quiet. You say it's humanity. You know, that is bad humanity. Humanity is about doing what is good, and you intervene. Please, let me tell you. Let me give you two instances. This king, Charles III, the third, and Zimbabwe's president, the late Mugabe. Let me give you two instances to justify my point here. When this Charles, Prince, now King the third, made the mistake of shaking Idi Amin of Uganda at a meeting, he was bitterly condemned in the UK. He had to apologize. Please, handshake diplomacy. First of all, we know that you don't stretch your hand if the other interlocutor doesn't stretch his or hers first. But he made the mistake. British people, they do not want to have anything to do with Idi Amin. But you have this same Charles, kind-hearted, trying to shake. Now, he apologized. Go and look at the literature on the aftermath. Now, when there was supposed to be a summit, Commonwealth, etc. all along, the issue of whether to invite Robert Mugabe to the summit generated a lot of controversies. Now, this time, the African Union came out more beautifully and said, well, if you are not going to invite Robert Mugabe, we aren't going to come. We are not going to attend. When you look at it now, I will not bring it to the issue of a relationship between Nigeria and the UK or United Kingdom and Africa. Please, you can see that this new king, all right, his attitudinal disposition cannot ignore all these factors. So the future of the relationship itself cannot be predicted here. Ambassador Shinade and Biokeshi are quite right by saying that, look, we have different generations. This new king, all right, will have more challenges than ever before. It is most likely we have had, is it Bermuda? One country is now saying, look, they are going Republican now, their system. They do not want to accept a continuity in all this monarchical system. The Commonwealth itself started as a British Commonwealth. Then now, Commonwealth of Nations. What type of a Commonwealth will it be in the foreseeable future?
Commonwealth of France.
Well, Commonwealth of France.
Gabon, Mozambique, and others joining.
Very, very good, because already it's a good, it's a very tenable hypothesis you have just given. That issue is there. Please, you see, the most critical challenge for King Charles now is what I would call again funeral diplomacy of the Queen. I will be moving from the funeral diplomacy a la Unduka Obagbina, on which I wrote today. Now you will discover that when John Pope II died, there were many hypocritical issues. Where should the guests be seated? Who should speak first? Who should not be invited? We are going to have the same scenario. You know, the new Prime Minister has just told us, that's Liz Truss, now saying that we will follow the legacy to an extent of Boris Johnson. He's now talking tough already. So we need to differentiate between head of state and head of government. Charles is head of state. We now have head of government, the prime minister, that will be there. The way they have these dual policies in France, where Elise will be saying yes, and the Quai d'Orsay will be saying no. Now, the outside world will be confused to say, oh, the French are supporting you. Oh, they are against you. This is precisely where we are going to
imagine,
do.
sir,
And now,
given the point with which you started, that this particular king has had 70 years of preparation. It was 3-4 years when his mother ascended the throne. That he will understand all of this. And he will probably, as Professor Akinyemi argued on another program on this station, be able to walk the tightrope and keep his political interests at bay. Now that is king.
Can I give you the example of François Mitterrand? François Mitterrand in France was always the first to criticize.
Mitterrand didn't go from prince to president.
His attitudinal disposition when he was in the opposition, the Socialist Party, he was always condemning. And that this is what I will do for Africa. When he ascended it, when he became the president, he now discovered that, look, he was dreaming by the time he was criticizing. I agree with your position and that of Professor Akinyemi. I eventually watched that particular program. The issue is that the environment is constantly changing, and you cannot predict that one for now. So anybody who is doing policy calculations on the basis of the environmental conditions of yesterday and today must be making a strategic mistake. Let us wait and see how this one will go. But that does not mean that conjectural analysis cannot be embarked upon.
Well, but you see, when people make heavy weather out of hereditary privilege, which is what we have in Great Britain, the eldest child, through the rule of primogeniture, succeeds the father. And we say, oh, the protocol is so important. But we have it in the Benin Empire, or if you like, the Benin Kingdom, here in Nigeria. The rule in Benin, among the Benis, the Edos, is the rule of primogeniture. And we also have that orderly transition. So why are we celebrating this order, protocol? It's not in every Nigerian community that people go to court to determine who becomes the next king.
I agree with you in total. You see, that was what prompted me to even want to look at the Owa Ubochi. What was the name of Margaret Obagbena's burial? The Oba.
Uwa Oyibo community.
Please, when you look at his statement, when you look at the orderliness put in place, when you look at how he entertained and discussed with the Emir of Kano, when you look at, you know, the pros and cons of the whole something, you see that there is orderliness here in Africa. It's there. You see now, we here, we condemn democracy, monarchical system. Then they are celebrating it elsewhere. They are telling us that, look, what we are doing is not good. We decided to move to a presidential system that does not allow for, you know, either semi-presidential is still better. Countries that prefer to come closer to the people, they adopt half presidential system, half parliamentary system. But we suddenly change in Nigeria and we set aside the traditional rules. That's the issue. It is not that we cannot even do better, perform better than the British. But the issue is that we are a people that believe that, look, anything that is imported, all right, we jump at that. Even our colleagues, when they write, they prefer to quote huge chunks from international authorities to give the impression that, yes, they are learned, they are reading. Whereas you have very great scholars in Nigeria. You go to Calabar, you go to Unila, you go to Ibadan, you go to Ife. They are there. And these are people going abroad.
Some of those scholars publishing in vanity journals, Prof, as you know.
Well,
don't come and quote vanity journals here. I start on A&P, you see in the university. So I have an idea.
The security, the terrorism, the political neutrality, all those issues raised, you know, political neutrality. Ambassador Yokeshi told us that the new king will follow the pattern, the legacy, and you too corroborated that one, that she's been there for 70 years, they are learning. And that the the issue of commitment is there. Please, when you look at the experiences of others, political neutrality, I don't believe in it. It doesn't exist anywhere. There's nothing like neutrality. There's nothing like that. The extent to which you can be neutral. If the DSS decides to arrest in Cairo Mamu, in fact, apart from the two reasons already established that the DSS intercepted communications between Mamu and the terrorists, and the mere fact that you cannot be a negotiator and still be a benefactor, I will agree to that one. But please, for God's sake, in international law, the principle of mediation requires that you must be acceptable to both interlocutors. So if you say you are negotiating on whose behalf? Are you negotiating on behalf of Nigeria? You are only negotiating.
Okay,
it's a spokesperson for the terrorists, as simple as that.
Professor Akintanwa, Professor Awurawa, I'd like to take this topic that should be of interest to you, and that will be our fifth topic today. The federal government of Nigeria has decided to take its ongoing dispute with the Union of University Teachers to the National Industrial Court. And this has come after the government came up with a position to offer professors a 35% pay rise and other varsity workers 23.5% pay rise. The lecturers have been on strike since February 14, 2022. They are demanding better funding, equipment of Nigerian public universities, and an increase in remunerations before they can return to the classrooms. Arise correspondent Nisi Gabriel tells us more.
This is Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, Kaduna State. The university is named after its founder, the late Sardauna of Sokoto, Alhaji Sir Ahmadu Bello, the first premier of northern Nigeria. The university houses 3 main campuses, and it's now populated with chipping beds instead of students. Before the prolonged strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, here used to be bustling with students from one end of the campus to another. But this campus has now become a ghost of its former self. Small businesses that depend on students for patronage are reeling from the effects of loss of income. We'll speak to some small business owners in a moment, but first, why are the academic staff unions refusing to shift grounds for students to return to school?
We have been shifting grounds, and that is why we said we are always open to negotiate with government.
So what are your demands?
Our demands are, one, renegotiation of 2009 agreement as it affects funding of Nigerian universities as well as condition of service of our members. 2, replacement of IPPI software with UTAS.
The Nigerian government says it has done its best to resolve the concerns of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, but the result of such efforts is still yet to be seen. Professor Haruna Jibrin believes Nigerian public universities are experiencing infrastructure decay, coupled with poor learning conditions. In ABU Zaria, there's a shortage of offices for lecturers, poorly equipped laboratories, overcrowded classrooms, and a deficit of facilities necessary for global rankings.
You have a classroom that is built to accommodate, let's say, a maximum of 200 students. And you may end up having 500, 600 students struggling in that classroom. You may have a classroom that is built to accommodate maybe a maximum of 50 students. And you may find out that you have almost 300 students in a classroom. Some are even standing by the window listening to the lecturer. Some maybe because of the size of the classroom may not even have that advantage for students to even see what the lecturer is writing on the board. There are no.
Well, recently, the National Universities Commission called a meeting of the Committee of Pro-Chancellors and Vice-Chancellors to come together to look at gray areas in the ASUU federal government imbroglio, to see how consensus can be forged with regard to those gray areas. Namely, salary increase. Secondly, the 7 months no work, no month pay, no pay that the federal government is talking about. At the end of that meeting, a committee of 14 was put together. 9 pro-chancellors, 5 vice-chancellors, 4 pro-chancellors, 5 vice-chancellors, and others to go and deliberate and see how, a way could be found out of this. But by yesterday, we were told that the federal government is now saying the federal government is going to the industrial court because negotiations are broken down. ASUU, for example, says everything that the federal government is offering does not address, all those things they are offering do not address the issue and fly in the face of agreements reached in 2009 and through various committees up to the Nimi Briggs Committee. Professor Nimi Briggs is even a member of this new 14-man committee. So what is the way forward? What is next? Nigerians want the schools to reopen. Parents are tired of having their children staying at home and losing their future, literally, because that's what it means. And the commentariat, like us, are concerned about the future, even at a larger level, of education in Nigeria. Professor Aborawo, you have been told that your salary will be increased by 35%. You earn 437,000 naira per month as a professor. 35% increase. That's something. The committee of pro-chancellors, they are saying, okay, take maybe 50%. But university lecturers are saying, no, it's a 100%, 119%, recommended by the Nimi Briggs committee that they want. Why don't you just take this 35% first and let us have peace?
Well, to focus on this 35% thing is to try to reduce the issues in the strike to just the welfare of, academic or staff in the university system. To begin with, let me just start even from the 35%. What does it translate to? Right now, the professor in the university earns 416,000 a month. No professor earns 417,000. 416 and some figures. If you had 35%...
So when you add the other ones, it comes to 436, 437.
No. I mean, those are... I'm talking about net.
Oh, okay.
The gross is actually about 470 there. But when the same government that pays, it takes it away. So it's what you take home that is important. We are talking about 416. No professor in Nigeria earns 470. I said this last week. You don't have any professor from South Africa, from Ghana, from anywhere coming here. And that is because, none of them can accept what we are paid. There is nowhere in the world where they pay. So let me even tell you something. Sometimes when we go abroad on exchange program, they give us form to fill. The lowest amount in there, what they normally list is $2,000. We tell them $2,000, we don't have anything like close. Even if you have $1,000 there, we still don't have a column to fill. That tells you how bad the condition is. I also mentioned last year, non-Nigerian universities are among the best 1,000 in the world. There are more than a dozen South African universities that are among the first 1,000 in the world. And some of those who are making those universities in South Africa tick our products here. Some of that, even my students that I supervise on master's, PhD, they are there. They are the ones making those universities to go to that high level of among the 1,000. But we, their teachers, are here doing our utmost. But because the government is not committing what is needed for them to get to that level, that is why we are where we are. So, I mean, I've discussed with 2 members of that committee, in the course of the week. What they actually advise the minister is that he should go back to the president that they should increase that thing from what it is to something more reasonable so that this strike can be called off. That is actually the best approach. This approach of industrial courts is making more mistakes. It will further delay the students and further cause dislocation in the system. It's a mistake. Let me tell you what the court will likely do. The court will order us to go back to work, but we'll also tell government to pay us. Government to pay us, and also government to keep agreement, which is what we can do peacefully without the court process, So I'm surprised why the minister is not going back to the president. Is the president so, so stoic about the issue that there is no shifting of grants? We can always get money from other. Education is too important to be treated the way it is treated now. And we are all very saddened by what has happened. We will hope that government will retrace its step and take the recommendation of, the pro-chancellor and vice-chancellors, increase this thing to some more reasonable level, and ASUU will accept, and then we can call off the strike. On the issue of no work, no pay, government knows that no work does not apply to academic staff, because the work of academic staff is not only teaching. We also have research and community service, which we have been doing in the course of the strike. In any case, the strike was called because government did not keep agreement, and again, it was prolonged because government did not even listen to ASUU until after 3 months. So any judge that will listen to all the details will know that no work, no pay will not apply to academics. I mean, we understand the government is broke because no academic staff have even resumed, they have not also paid them. They should try and look for how to, mop up money here and there, increase what they have offered, then we can call off this strike, and then we can move on with our lives.
Professor Akintenuwa, you have been in this system for long. We used to hear that a teacher's reward is in heaven.
It's in heaven.
It looks like today's teachers want to collect their reward now, on earth.
That's why I've always told you that times are changing. Environmental conditions are changing. Why do you have to go to heaven before you get your reward? The time is gone. Look, please, the government is suffering from reneging virus. The government has a virus that is running through, the blood system. 1 month, I think by October 1, the veterans indicated yesterday that they will go to Ministry of Defense with their mats, food. They will sleep there. Why? The same thing, the government is on record to disrespect sanctity of agreements. It's as simple as that. So,
Pacta sunt servanda.
Pacta sunt servanda. Yes, you are more correct. In fact, this time I agree with him that he cannot be more correct with all the various submissions. You see, the way forward is that if the government accepts to pay in the spirit of compromise, let them prorate the entitlement, all right, and then ensure that autonomy of the university is restored. Then respect scholars, for God's sake. Respect the universities. Respect them.
Okay, parents also have hope that the university teachers will meet the federal government halfway and avoid protracted conflict in the interest of everyone involved, every stakeholder, that is. You've been watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show, here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abate. For my entire team here in Lagos, it's bye for now, and thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next Sunday.